Well, hello everybody, welcome back to the home build. Today we are going to talk about forming the back patio. So what I have here is I got my back patio. I want to get this poured before winter, and I'm going to set up my 2x4 forms, check to make sure we have slope. I want there to be about an 1/8 inch slope per foot of run away from the house. And then as well as I'll be forming up the sidewalk and the front patio. For right now, we're gonna get started on laying out our 2x4s. So what I do, I already have my elevation on my foundation. I'm gonna put an elevation out here on my piers where I want that to be. And I'm gonna set up a 2x4 out here, out there, won't stake it yet. And then I'll make sure it's on line. Then I'll go ahead and stake it, and then from there I'm going to raise it up to the elevation that I need, or if I need to scratch out a little to lower it for some reason or another, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to nail it. So, all right, as you can see, I got all the 2x4s all spread out. Okay, that's what I'm planning on, is a 4-inch thick patio and sidewalk. The sidewalk really 3.5 is fine. Patio, just because of the area, I want to have just a little bit thicker, so I'm hoping for 4 inches. If it's a little less, it's okay. More is better. My driveway over there, when I go to do that, definitely is going to be at least 4 inches to 5 inches thick with rebar. This here, I'm not going to have rebar. I might get some mesh and put some wire mesh in it, just to give it a little strength, but I'm gonna have joints in enough places that it'll crack in those joints and that sort of thing. But that'll be for another video on the joints and the pouring of this patio. So, but I got 2x4s. My 2x4s don't go the full length. They're 16-foot 2x4s, and I'm gonna be going out another 6 foot, so 22 feet, give or take. But there's going to be sections where I'm going to have my splice board. So this is my splice board. Some people use like just a little cleat, a little piece of plywood. It's only like 18 inches long, 3.5 inches tall. But for me, I want that to make sure it's good and straight. Plus, I don't want to cut my 6-foot boards. Material's expensive now, so I'm going to do that. So I'm going to measure, get all my lengths, nail on my splice boards. Okay, put them into the corners, get them scooted over where they need to be, all before I run some stakes. There's other methods and other things, but this makes the most sense for me for right now. This one here, I'm gonna end up cutting it short and then tying it in. I'm debating now that I'm kind of looking at this. I like the idea of a radius. So to create that radius, I'm gonna have to get some thin plywood. So that I can make it square, chop it back, and that's something I can do later. So I'll probably make it square, and then when I get some 1/4 inch thick plywood or masonite, I'll go ahead and cut that out and put it there. There is 2 radius spots over there that I'm going to be doing. And then when it comes to over here, I might decide to do a little bit of a radius here and radius there. It gives it a little more look, but there's also something else. Us humans, we get lazy sometimes, so we like to cut the corner just a tiny bit, and I don't want to be stepping in the mud, and so I just want to build it to that laziness kind of thing. So I'm going to radius it, and plus I can do it. It looks good, and that sort of thing. So got all the forms laid out, and we're going to keep on going, and you'll see the process. All right, right here it's gonna be one of my splices. So my 6-foot board that I had was gonna be a little short, and I didn't want this little block in here, so I just made it a foot. Less likely to split and that sort of thing. Now I have my backer on this back side, okay, my splice plate, and it's gonna give me a couple things. It's gonna create my straight edge. So when I nail this to this backer of my splice plate, it creates a nice straight one continuous long board. So That's important, and it's also important that this board is straight. Try to be free of bows and that sort of thing, but that's my method. Using some of the materials that I have, I'm going to use 16 penny nails and nail those, and the nails will go all the way through, which is fine. I can just bend them over, but at the same time it allows me to, once I strip the forms, I can beat the nails out, beat them back through, pull the nails. Sometimes I'll have duplex nails but nailing from the other side. In this case I have these nails and it's going to work. So I flush it out here, which is going to be my top, and then on this other end, making sure I'm nice and straight there. Another nail there, and then I'm going to nail the splice plate. Try to make sure my joint is clean, but when I go to finish the concrete, I'll radius that edge. You won't be able to even know that there's a joint in the board. Okay, that one there. Straighten that out, so flush it nice and tight on the top, and it gets me nice and straight. And more down here at the end. Now I could use screws. I have screws, but nails for this, for shear, is strong. Plus nails or screws, they tend to fill up with concrete. So that gives me a continuous board at this point, and I'm going to continue this around. So on these other sections, I'll splice that one together, get my length that I need, plus an overlap of 1.5 inches there, plus an overlap of 1.5 inches. Now it could go run on wild, and that end as well, run on wild, and not even have to cut a board. But I don't want it going on through and dig a little channel in my soil out there, so I'm just gonna overlap it 1.5 inches on each side, and I'll show you that. All right, I got all the splice plates on all the way around on this beautiful Oregon day. Look at this, got some splice plates there, got it kind of pretty close to right where I want it, and so now I'm going to start driving those wood stakes. So out here, wood stakes will be just fine. I don't need concrete stakes or steel stakes. I have some of those for certain locations if it's a real soft spot. But with these wood stakes, I'm gonna drive them in and then screw them off, and I'm not beating on the forms as bad as if I was using nails, so that's why I'm gonna use screws. But I can also trim them down so they're flush with the top of the 2x4 or the form, and that way I can just screed right across it. It's not in the way when I'm finishing concrete and all that good stuff. So with the steel stake, it'd probably be tall, plus I could fall on it and hurt myself, and I don't want to do that either. So out here, wood stakes, it's soft enough ground. The gravel is in most places out past the form just a little bit, so it's kind of a pain driving into it, but it goes in, especially since we've had some rain. So watch the process. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I put a nail on one end, put a nail on this end, maybe screw this pretty big nail right on the corner. Now there's other methods I could that I could do. I can hold it up like a block or that sort of thing, but when it comes to things like this, so see what I did? The string, not gonna how I tie it. Put it around, twist, 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 twist about 5 times. Go on the nail, and I can just pull these two together. Pulls it tight, back on itself like that. And if I need to pull it undone, all I have to do is pull on the string. That loosens right up. So tighten that sucker back up. The reason is it's going to be right on the corner, So some of the form I need to push back, put a stake in, and then down there at the splice, I need to go that way with it. So that helps keep my form nice and straight while I'm nailing it. So just like this. Push this just a little, and I got pressure with my foot. Right down to it. There. And go right about here. And I'm going to bring it to me some. And on the back of this 2x4. And right in there, it's got a little bow in it, so I'm going to push it this way after I get a few more of these, because it looks like with that string line just barely being right on the corner down here, I can also lift it up to grade. So it's going to be nice, but I want to make sure my end down there is to grade, so better do that first. Get my laser going. So right now, come down some. And that'd give me that 1/8 inch per foot. So but not quite there yet. Or screwing off. So something else to consider is when the pressure that's on the form is not a whole lot, but if somebody steps on it, it can move. So you want to at least also build it to strong enough to be able to support someone if they're step on it. So hopefully they're not stepping on it. So like this right here is a little loose in the ground. And tapping the ground around it. I will be going over this again with the plate temp before I'm totally done. Say that one's pretty good. Spacing on my stakes in this case is about 2.5, 3 feet probably. So it's gonna work for this. So I'm jumping over to this other side, and I'm gonna double check where my finished floor is, or concrete is over here on this side. I want to make sure this joint is below it. Alright, so this joint here, or this form right here, I want to make sure that I'm at least, ideally would be 5/8 of an inch lower than that so water slopes. So let's see. And that's about 3/8. So I'm going to go ahead and put a stake there, and I measured from this joint to that far form, making sure that I had the appropriate distance, which was 26 foot 5.5 inches, believe it or not. That's what it is. and that's where it is. I had to tap it this way a 1/2 inch, but we're good now. Grab my sledgehammer and pound that stake in. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of room because I might have to go in and out and measure and make sure I have 5 feet here in just a sec. There. And see if I got 5 feet, which I need to go that way, over the beach. Whoa, that was a big word. Ah, perfect. Alright, so tap that down a little, screw it off. Right about there is going to be about 5/8. 1/8 inch per foot side slope. Okay, and then now I'm going to go with that far corner over there, make sure it's to grade, and see, it's locked in over there, it's locked in here, so that's the only spot that it can be. So I'll put some stakes in it and see whether or not I need to drive that side down. So this form right here, it's got a kind of a dip in it. It's going to kind of go straight and then it kind of dies down just a little bit. It's very kind of subtle from that length. But so what I had to do, instead of it just having the string line right on the corner, I brought it off 3/4 of an inch there with the stake, 3/4 of an inch down there, and then so down here I can make a direct measurement. I wanted 9 feet from the concrete to here, so I already got this form screwed off and installed there, and it cantilevers on by. So I adjusted that form left to right so that I have 3/4 of an inch right here between the string line. And then I went ahead and screwed that off, and I wanted that elevation just about side to side. It looks pretty good. I might dig a little here or over there to kind of drop it just a little bit, but other than that, I like this side to side. It's relatively flat, but having that radius allows me to and pulling the string line off like that allows this kind of a slight curve to the sidewalk, allows me to still have a string line. And this one right here where I have a stake behind, I'm going to probably tap it back so I have 3/4 of an inch, because that right there is not quite 3/4 of an inch. So another trade tip, I should say, I got this line done so it's nice and straight. It's kicked off. My level, I want a 4 foot wide sidewalk. My level just happens to be exactly 4 foot, so I can use it as a spreader. And so right now I'm going to put a stake right behind it, putting it over to where my level's at. And then I want a side to side slope, so I want water to shed that direction as well as it's flowing that way a little bit, but only about 3/4 of an inch. So that gives it a fair, good side to side slope, and it sheds that water off pretty quick, so there's not really an opportunity for it to freeze and create a slip hazard. So I'm going to bring this over and put a stake there, and then I'm going to put a 3/4 block under there, and the level I'll put it back up on top. And when I make it level, that gives it side to side a 3/4 inch side to side slope, which is a little bit less than a 1/4 inch per foot. So let's have a look with that. So right here, I'm gonna grab my sledgehammer. I decided to use an 18 inch stake instead of a 12 inch stake because I got a little bit of this backfill right here, and trying to keep my stake straight up and down as much as possible. So when I raise it up, let's see how we're looking. So I do want that below grade. So it's kind of actually close to where I want it. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and pound that stake down flush. And then do that. Put my 3/4 inch block underneath it. And then I can raise and lower it so that I'm level, which I'm real close, but not quite. And I'm gonna, here it is, right where it's supposed to be. And I'm gonna raise this up just a little bit, having my foot under it to where I'm level, which I'm level now. And right like that. All right, so over on this side, I got my concrete form gonna be radiusing around, but I first started with a string line going straight across from stem wall to stem wall. That's where the plans show, that's where we want it. The nice thing about being the homeowner, I can design whatever I want. So that's the way that is. And then I wanted 6 feet from here to that stem wall, so it's 6 foot across. So how I got that is I measured straight across here, subtracted 6 feet. They gave me the length of this 2x4, so I just cut it to length, plus an inch, lap it onto the stem wall over there. String line also gave me grades for elevation, and so I have about a 1/4 inch slope going this the side to side slope. This little 2x4, I just kind of measured and I eyeballed a radius that I wanted, and that kind of looks like a fairly good radius, and made sure I was square with my speed square. The OSB plywood is something I had, and see if you notch it in the back, I got a series of notches, and that helps me bend that plywood. If I didn't notch it, it would just snap in half. 1/2 inch plywood, notch like that's a little bit better. I'm only gonna see the top edge of it, not that back edge. So even though the concrete's gonna look like OSB after I pour it, it all covers. I'll radius that edge of concrete, so you won't even know that it was poured against OSB. So my assistant down here, Hannah Rogers, is putting in the concrete stakes. Again, I have my string line held off by 3/4 of an inch, and she's just verifying that it's 3/4 of an inch off, and then driving those stakes in. So it goes flat to the end of the stem wall, and then it starts sloping downwards. So I can't just have the string line on the corner, so I have it built off so that it can slope downwards, but maintaining it being nice and straight. So this other side, I'm gonna have my spreader getting my distance here, and then this line against the stem wall, I'm gonna extrapolate right on through. And I might start off with that being square, see how that looks, whether or not I radius it. At this point, I'm not sure. I think square would actually look, pretty good. So I might end up leaving that side square, this with the radius, and then we'll start laying out our joints, and I'll show you that here in a bit. All right, we got the radius done, the last part of this first phase of our sidewalk complete. Got that radius in. I'm gonna keep this one square. The other thing I wanted to show you was, see how I got the screws? They're painted orange. Those are gonna be my construction joints going across. So what concrete does is when it starts off wet and fluid-like, it gets hard and it cracks. That's what it does. Okay, so I want to control the cracks, so I already laid out where I want all my joints to go across. So I'm gonna have a couple squares, say 1, 2, 3, 4 big squares of exposed aggregate, and then with bands in between of a hard troweled, very, very light broom finish, and it's gonna all be charcoal kind of color. So that's what's to come in another video. But at this point, you got to lay out all of your joints, where everything goes, so you can either draw it out, lay out all these string lines, that sort of thing, to make sure that the design is what you want, and so that you're not wasting time when the concrete's on the ground here, trying to figure out where all your joints are. So take the few minutes, or well, it probably took me about an hour at most to do it both sides, laying out where everything goes. But that's going to save me an hour when concrete's here. So my nails are screws, so that I can snap lines in the fresh concrete and then tool it. So that's where we're at. I got a little bit of subgrade to level out and bring down, because it's a little high in here. But other than that, that's kind of a wrap. So hopefully you enjoyed and learned something. Hopefully maybe you learned something, if anything, about the radiuses that I do. Cutting lines in the back of it to relief it just a little bit so that it can bend like it is here. And I gotta say, everything's looking pretty darn good from here. So see you next time on the home build.